Scary stories of encounters with black-eyed children. If you like this video, subscribe with a bell for more weekly scary videos. Before we get into the scary stories, let me explain about what black-eyed children are. Black-eyed children are an American urban legend of paranormal creatures that resemble children between the ages of 6 and 16 with pale skin and black eyes, who are reportedly seen hitchhiking or panhandling, or are encountered on doorsteps of residential homes. This next story is from a Reddit user. I used to live in what I can only assume was a haunted house. I had never had lucid dreams or sleep paralysis in my life. Never except for in that house. Never before and never since. Once every 2 weeks or so, I would have one of those dreams. It was about a black-eyed child. Now, when I say black-eyed child, please understand, where the eyes should have been, there were only 2 empty holes, black as the night. I was walking back to my house in the dream, on the sidewalk by a small park with a sandbox. There was only one child playing in the park. He was maybe 6 years old, wearing normal clothes with a plastic shovel. I could see my house down the road from where I was. The child's back was turned to me, but as I passed the child, he stood up from where he was kneeling in the sand and turned to look at me. It was then that I saw the eyes, or lack thereof. I continued walking, but the child began to follow me. I began to walk faster, and the child continued to follow me, matching my pace. I remember looking back, and the mouth of the child opened up to reveal an equally black void as the eyes, with white pointed teeth. I started running and got to my house's porch. I jumped up those steps and slammed and locked the door. In moments, I was at the window, looking out, but the child was gone. This next story is from another Reddit user. When I was about 16, I started developing a sleep paralysis phenomenon. It happened every other night or so. Most times when I wake up in the episode, it wasn't right. Something felt odd every time. I could see my room and still hear my fan, but still something felt like what was almost watching me. I thought it was normal paranoia, as most say you experience in sleep paralysis, but the 4th time I experienced it, there was a childlike figure sitting at the edge of my bed. If I wasn't paralyzed, I would have crapped myself. It turned towards me and just stared with its black eyes. They got a hint of white towards the outer middle, but they just stared at me. I was freaking out a lot, and it's worse because you can't scream or move. You can just watch. The child then stood up off my bed and walked through the wall, going towards my sister's room. I then fell asleep shortly after that. I brought this encounter up a year or so later, only to my sister, and she said she saw a child with no eyes in front of her closet door, just staring at her. This story is also from a Reddit user. One night when I was a junior or senior in high school, one of my best friends, we will call him T, and I decided to do what every other high schooler did, and get stoned. Him and I were active stoners, so sneaking out at night and walking around his town. Now, I'm not sure that it has any connection, but the town is fairly old, with a semi-bad history, as it used to be a coal mining town. Anywho, we were just taking a stroll at about midnight, and we had just passed all the active district of the town, and we were now going down a road that led to a park. As him and I are approaching, we're just talking, being rowdy. Out of nowhere, T stopped. He just starts looking straight ahead of us and says, "What the hell? Do you see that? and to be honest, I didn't. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary, and I hadn't heard anything either. T starts scrambling for his phone to turn on his flashlight, and I won't forget what we saw. There were 3 kids playing on the playset directly in front of us, and when the light shined on them, they weren't moving, and you couldn't see their eyes. T said something along the lines of, "Oh crap, you guys scared us," but got no reply. They just sat and stared, and T and I just kind of started backing up and said goodbye. We didn't hear them leave either. It was just dead silence the entire time, and it never occurred to me until after we gotten back to his house that it was 1 a.m. and these kids couldn't have been older than elementary school. I won't ever forget that night. The story is from a Reddit user. It's 11:30 at night in the middle of June, and I'm in my house alone with my dog. I was reading a Reddit post about black-eyed kids and was pretty shook already. I've heard rumors that if you know about them, they come and visit you. I was sitting on my living room couch when I hear 2 knocks at my front door. My dog immediately hopped on the couch with me and started trembling. I got startled and hesitantly walked to the front door. I looked through one of the windows on my door and saw 2 kids. One looked really small, like he was 5, and the other kid looked at least 9. They were wearing winter clothes. Keep in mind that it's the middle of June. I tried to look at their faces, but my porch light for some reason wasn't working. They were just staring at the door. I stared at them for at least 20 seconds when they both looked at me through the window in the door. I ran back to my couch and tried to be as quiet as I can and don't make any noise. I hear 2 more knocks again and hear, "Sir, let us in." I waited 10 seconds, then I hear, "Let us in. We have to call our mom." I waited about a minute and I hear pounding on my window and one of the kids say, "Let us in a demanding manner. It has been at least 2 minutes and I think they are gone until I hear my backyard gate sling open. I then hear pounding on my backsliding door. I run upstairs and lock myself in my bedroom with my dog. They kept pounding for at least half an hour. The pounding stopped and I put headphones on and tried to sleep through it. When they came back, I never saw them again. The story is from a Reddit user. I once worked at a non-profit, being the program assistant for a drop-in day center for homeless families. My boss was fired and replaced with a real pain in the ass. This woman was horrible. So much, in fact, I set a meeting with her boss, the director. As I'm walking towards his office, I was thinking, control my attitude, my words, etc. I'm really upset with the way my new boss is behaving. So I make it down the hallway, up the flight of stairs, and I can see his doorway. As I approach, I see him, and he's sitting at a table with 8 chairs, and he's pointing to the seat he wants me to sit in, which is right next to him. I'm already nervous. I set my things down and began to look at him. He is motionless, eyes wide open, eyes peering. His solid black eyes. I mean solid black. No white at all. Just unblinking, piercing eyes looking into mine. I froze. Nobody else around to see this. Instant dread and the sense of pure evil came over me. I could barely speak, but I mumbled some of my issues. As quick as possible, left his office. I've always noticed he had a weird thing with blinking and his hands. Almost like he would long blink while controlling his hands in front of groups of people. Not in the case when I was in his office. completely creepy. His eyes were normally a blue-gray, not black, with no white at all.